Hello, Michigan Realtors, and welcome back to another edition of From the Mailbag. I'm Becky Gean, and today's Q&A aligns with this month's Letter of the Law video, which addressed inspection clauses. With that, let's dive in and answer some questions from the mailbag. Question 1. My seller was at home when the inspector showed up with the buyer's agent. The seller was told that he could not be present during the inspection. Is this true? No. There is no law in Michigan that requires a seller to leave their property during a home inspection. Question 2. I represent a buyer who entered into a purchase agreement with a 15-day inspection contingency. During the inspection, the buyer discovered numerous defects with the property. My client still wants to purchase the property, but only if the seller remedies the defects. Can my buyer force the seller to do this? Probably not. Now, it's true that no inspection contingency is drafted exactly the same, but typically, an inspection contingency clause gives the buyer the option to either move forward with the purchase agreement as written or terminate the purchase agreement and walk away from the transaction. A buyer can request that a seller make repairs, but typically cannot require the seller to do so. And don't forget that some inspection clauses even permit the seller to terminate the purchase agreement if the buyer makes that type of a request. So, a buyer needs to carefully review the language of an inspection contingency before they make those requests. If the buyer wants the ability to walk away from the deal if the seller refuses to make repairs, then the buyer needs to clearly spell that out in the inspection clause. Question 3. I'm a broker who represents a buyer. My buyer made an offer on a property that was accepted by the seller. Both the buyer and the seller have agreed in the contract that I am to hold the earnest money check and not deposit it in my trust account until the inspection period has passed. Is this allowed under Michigan law? No. The occupational code says that a broker must deposit an earnest money check into their trust account within 2 banking days of receiving notice that there is a binding purchase agreement in place. An agreement between the buyer and seller that says something contrary does not relieve the broker of their duty to deposit money within their possession within that specified time that is set out by the occupational code. If the buyer and seller want to make this type of agreement, then they should also agree to have someone other than a real estate licensee hold the earnest money. For example, a third-party non-licensee, since that individual would not be subject to the occupational code rules. That wraps up another installment of From the Mailbag. For more information on this topic, be sure to check out its companion Letter of the Law video, which is linked in the description. If you have questions or suggestions for new topics, please send them to the email listed below. Based on input from you, as well as the Michigan Realtors Legal Hotline, our legal team will continue to work on content to help you as a realtor. Again, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.